Nobody was expecting it to be this massive. Nobody thought it would open this soon. And yet, just after sunrise on June 19, 2025, thousands of Tanzanians stood shoulder to shoulder near the edge of Lake Victoria, watching something almost surreal rise from the mist. The bridge didn't come with fireworks, it didn't need them. Its presence alone, stretching across the water like a giant spine, was louder than any cannon blast. Children climbed onto rooftops. Traders abandoned their stalls. Local fishermen, some of whom had never left their villages, stood silently as cars rolled across a structure they had only heard rumors about. In a country where infrastructure often lags behind ambition, this felt like time bending. The John Pombe Magufuli Bridge, a name suddenly on everyone's lips, was no longer a dusty drawing in some forgotten planning file. It was real, solid, and it had arrived quietly, then all at once. What made this moment so electrifying wasn't just the bridge's size, though at 3.2 kilometers, it is now the longest in East and Central Africa. It was the contrast. Just yesterday, people were losing hours waiting for an unreliable ferry. Today, they were crossing the lake in minutes, windows down, music on, waving at the shoreline disappearing behind them. Journalists rushed to cover the story. Some called it a miracle of African engineering. Others whispered it felt staged, too perfect, too sudden. "I thought this kind of thing only happened in Asia or Europe," one foreign correspondent was overheard saying. But it happened, and not in Dar es Salaam or Arusha, but in Tanzania's often overlooked lake zone. The periphery had become the headline. And then there was the name Magufuli. For some, it evoked memories of grit, ambition, and controversy. For others, it was a quiet reminder that legacies don't die when presidents do, they evolve, sometimes into steel and concrete. Naming the bridge after the late president wasn't just branding. It was a tribute. It was a message. This wasn't a one-time stunt. It was continuity. Unfinished business, finished. When President Samia Suluhu Hassan walked across the bridge during the opening ceremony, she didn't promise a miracle. She didn't need to. The structure itself was the proof. She simply declared the bridge open, and the crowd erupted, not in polite, choreographed applause, but in raw, contagious celebration. But amid the cheers, one question echoed louder than the rest. Where did the money come from? No donor logos, no aid banners, no foreign flags. The fingerprints of international assistance were missing, and that raised eyebrows across the continent. Because if Tanzania had built this entirely on its own, this wasn't just an engineering marvel. It was a threat to the old order behind closed doors. Analysts weren't marveling at the steel. They were dissecting the accounting. A $300 million bridge, debt-free, in a developing country? Unheard of. It challenged the assumption that Africa must borrow to build. It shattered the narrative that sovereignty must always come second to stability. The truth? Tanzania did something radical. It re-engineered its budgeting model to make space for something big, without waiting for permission. Quietly, over several fiscal cycles, the government redirected internal revenue, much of it from gold, agriculture, and value-added tax, into a protected infrastructure fund. Large-scale imports were temporarily deprioritized. Non-critical state projects paused. Civil service expansion delayed. The philosophy was simple: spend once, spend smart, own it completely. President Samia Suluhu Hassan hadn't campaigned on economic nationalism, but after inheriting Magufuli's ambitions and watching Africa's debt anxiety grow, she chose a different path. This wasn't just about avoiding loans. It was about avoiding the strings that come with them, strings that often let lenders dictate timelines, hire foreign auditors, import labor, and demand policy concessions. Tanzania walked away from all of that. The Magufuli Bridge was built not just with local money, but on local terms. In that sense, it is a financial firewall. It kept out the endless meetings, the currency risks, the political leverage. And that quiet control might be the most powerful part of the story. The decision has changed how Tanzanians see public money. Suddenly, the question isn't, what can foreign aid do for us? But what else can we do if we stop waiting? From Accra to Nairobi, policymakers are studying the Tanzanian playbook. If one country can build the biggest bridge in East Africa without a cent of foreign debt, what else is possible? But a bold budget means nothing without impact. And the impact here is immediate. For decades, crossing Lake Victoria meant patience or frustration. The ferry between Kagongo and Busisi took over an hour when you counted delays, breakdowns, and boarding. Sometimes passengers could nap, buy lunch, and drain a phone battery before getting on. Then came the bridge. Now vehicles cross in just 4 minutes. Locals joke it's like teleportation. Drivers still check their watches at the shore, out of habit, not necessity. And those minutes saved are transforming entire systems. Truckers hauling fish, cotton, and grain now save nearly a day of travel. For perishable goods, that's the difference between profit and loss. A fish trader from Mwanza now reaches Rwanda without icing his Nile perch twice. That single change slashes costs, multiplied by hundreds of trucks. It's an invisible but powerful economic surge. School children arrive on time. No longer waking at 4 a.m., health workers travel without gambling on ferry timetables. Expectant mothers have a road under them instead of unpredictable waters. What was once 2 separate provinces is becoming a single economic zone. Property values are spiking. Restaurants, shops, and transport hubs are appearing along the access roads. Routes are emerging that link Tanzania more directly to Uganda, Rwanda, and the DRC. Some planners now call it Africa's shortest long-distance trade route. 4 minutes of road has done more for cross-border commerce than years of policy meetings. Villages once overlooked are now logistics hubs. Banks are opening branches where there were none. And perhaps most importantly, the bridge is moving more than cars, it's moving jobs. The change started years earlier during construction. Over 1,500 Tanzanians were employed, not just as laborers, but in skilled roles often reserved for foreigners. Surveyors, welders, structural analysts, drone operators, trained on the job under strict conditions that require skill transfer. For the first time, Tanzanian engineers weren't just watching mega projects, they were running them. Today, many of those workers are sought after for other national projects, highways, stadiums, energy plants. The bridge didn't just connect land, it connected a generation to opportunity. Tourism is also shifting. Mwanza and Gaida, once far from tourist itineraries, are now on the map. Domestic tourism is rising. Lodges are expanding, guest houses are booked out, and tour operators are creating sunrise packages across the bridge, complete with lakeside breakfasts. Land near the bridge has tripled in value in just 6 months. Logistics companies have opened regional offices. Bus routes are changing. The bridge has become an engine, and everything around it is in motion. But its heaviest weight isn't steel, it's meaning. This bridge is speaking loudly about what Africa can build without permission. It exposes how long people have settled for less. It forces uncomfortable questions in capitals still waiting for donor approval before breaking ground. And the silence from Western institutions is telling. No congratulatory messages. No ribbon cuttings from the World Bank. Because this bridge tells a story they aren't ready to hear. A story of African capability without oversight. It is no accident that it bears Magufuli's name. He believed Africans could build for themselves, fund their futures, and speak with their own voices. Naming the bridge after him was not a formality, it was a declaration. We have not abandoned that vision, its location matters too. Far from the capital, in regions often dismissed as peripheral. It shifts the development map away from foreign-facing urban centers toward places invisible to policy elites. It is decentralization in concrete. And perhaps most provocatively, it creates fear, not in Tanzania but among those who depend on Tanzania's dependence. If one country can pull this off, others might try. And if others try, the development aid industry, built on conditionality and control, begins to wobble. Already, politicians in Zambia are discussing sovereign infrastructure strategies. Economists in Ghana are dissecting the model. Student movements in Senegal are asking, if Tanzania can, why can't we? The Magufuli Bridge is becoming a blueprint, not just for engineering but for audacity. But with audacity comes responsibility. Tanzania must now prove that self-reliant development isn't a fluke, that independence can last, grow, and inspire. The model must be shielded from privatization schemes, debt traps disguised as partnerships, and foreign advisors seeking to reassert control. Because symbols like this don't just inspire the oppressed, they agitate the powerful. Still, what stands over Lake Victoria is more than a symbol. It's a border-crossing idea. A steel question mark pointed at every African nation told what it can't afford, what it must delay, and what it's not ready for. The Magufuli Bridge doesn't ask for applause. It dares you to answer, what if this wasn't the exception? What if this is the new rule? What if Africa's future no longer arrives with a foreign loan signature, but with a shovel, a blueprint, and a plan no one else gets to approve? If 4 minutes of road can do this, what could 4 years of sovereignty build? What if Africa stopped asking for permission? What if self-reliance became the standard, not the surprise?